What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. And what a game we just witnessed between the Michigan Wolverines and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And even though tonight I'm going to be having nightmares about Adrian Martinez running the football and that option play they were running the entire second half, with big thanks to the legend Brad Hawkins, the Michigan Wolverines improved to 6-0 with a 32-29 victory tonight. I'll be giving my thoughts on the game in just a second, then we'll do a quick recap. We'll take a look at the box score and also a brief preview of next week later on in the video, so definitely make sure to stick around. But in terms of my thoughts on the game, I want to actually start with Nebraska before we get into Michigan. And I want to say there's a reason that Nebraska came into this game as only 2.5-point underdogs. They are a very, very good team who've played some very solid football, for quite a bit of this season. It sucks that they got a losing record of 3-4, given, the quality of football that they played in the second half tonight, and also, the Michigan State game, and just some really quality games against some ranked and very good Big Ten opponents. Even though Scott Frost still doesn't have a win against a top 10 opponent, I think this Nebraska team is a veteran team, a very good team, and I think the Nebraska program is taking steps into the right direction, no doubt about it. Nebraska is also a very, very tough place to play. The crowd in Nebraska always impresses me. I love covering Nebraska and their recruiting on this channel, so I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to you guys and all the Nebraska fans out there. Flipping over to Michigan, this video was about to be a very, very different video, having a very different dynamic from a Michigan fan perspective. This was about to be a rant instead of a sigh of relief. We played solid in the first half, I thought. The defense was very solid. Nebraska is a very good team in terms of running the football. Very similar to Michigan overall, a solid, gritty defensive team who is great and one of the better teams in the country in terms of the ground game, and we shut that down, and I thought that was really solid. And the defense in the first half, until halftime, was good after Nebraska's first drive. If Michigan did lose this game, the story of the first half that would have been really talked about is the points that they left on the board. We only scored one touchdown, which was right before the half, and thankfully we did, because that ended up being huge and gave us some momentum going into the half, even though it didn't really matter. But yeah, the two field goals for sure, not being able to convert points. We had two touchdowns go to review, called back. It was just a mess. We couldn't finish up the drives, and it almost bit us. The defense in the second half was also a big issue. 22 in the third quarter, 29 in the half overall. But a big defensive stop, obviously, by Brad Hawkins forcing that fumble. But yeah, all of a sudden, Nebraska started running the ball all over us, something that we really haven't seen happen against the Michigan defense so far this season, which is, a team and opposition stringing together really quality drives against us. Yeah, but thankfully we got the job done. Again, a big play at the end. I thought that we did play pretty well overall throughout the course of the game, but this is a game that we easily could have lost. And, looking ahead for the rest of the schedule, we got a tough one against Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. Probably three teams that are going to be top 10 teams going into next week. So we'll definitely need to be better than that. Let's go to the box score. We will start with the Michigan Wolverines. Cade McNamara, 22 of 38 passing, 255 in the air, one interception, which was the first career interception for McNamara at the collegiate level. I think McNamara, and I always say this, I don't mind the low completion percentage, because I get that McNamara never wants to force stuff into traffic, and it keeps the ball in our hands, which is exactly what the coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh want. So I'm okay with that. I thought today he made a couple risky passes. He obviously threw the interception, which was an awful throw. Late in the fourth quarter, he also had a bad throw that probably could have been picked off as well. I don't think it's time for J.J. McCarthy yet. I'm still fine with J.J. McCarthy coming off the bench and coming in for certain set plays to either hand the ball off or use his legs a bit to run the football. But we increased the amount of times that we passed today. 38 might be our season high, but we definitely mixed it in a lot more, and it wasn't really, really successful. We still had issues with the deep ball, and again, completion percentage not there. So I'm a little 50-50 on where we are in terms of the passing game. Ground game, we were struggling with it the past couple of weeks. Ran for 204 today. Haskins, 123 on 21 carries. We got 89 yards from Blake Corum as well. 3 touchdowns on the ground, looking like the Michigan run game that we saw more so at the beginning of the year, but again, being shut down in the past 2 weeks or so. In terms of receiving, Baldwin, 64 yards. He led the way. We had 22, again, catches as well for 255, 11.6 average. I still think we're lacking a bit of, some downfield threats in terms of some real speed. But again, when our run game is working, our pass game looks fairly good as well. So I'm not too upset about that. A couple other things that I want to talk about with the Wolverines. I thought we were a little sloppy at times with our penalties, especially early on. Only our second road game of the year in Nebraska. Again, not an easy place to play, but we did pick up some not so great penalties. AJ Henning almost cost us the game with that fumble. Thankfully, we ended up recovering that. And thank goodness we've got the best kicker in college football in Jake Moody. 4 for 4 today, including a 39-yard field goal and the game-winning field goal as well. So a lot to like in terms of Michigan there. In terms of Nebraska, Adrian Martinez was pretty solid today. 18 of 28, but most of his completions, I think he was like 10 of 11 going into the last drive in the second half. So lights out in the second half, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, all 3 touchdowns coming in the second half. Really almost led that charge for Nebraska to come back and uses his legs. Had 38 yards on the ground as well. Allowed Nebraska to run a really, really effective sort of option with Martinez and Ramir Johnson, who also had a very good game. Johnson, 17 carries, 67 yards, also led the way in terms of receiving. 6 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown in the air as well. He was a dual threat. Ramir Johnson, super talented player, both out of the backfield in terms of running the football, but also in terms of a pass catcher as well. Austin Allen, Martin, a bunch of guys also had, 2 or more receptions there. And yeah, I thought the Nebraska defense was pretty solid until later on in the game and the later part of the second quarter. But overall, I actually thought they were pretty decent in coverage. They're really lucky to have been able to stand up Michigan those 2 times where they had to settle for field goals. Coverage I thought was really solid, and I think they did a really good job in the first half of stopping a very good Michigan running attack. Quickly, I want to flip over to team stats. Nebraska was no good in terms of third down efficiency. Only 3 of 11 today, 1 of 3 in fourth down efficiency, including the one that ended the game for Nebraska. Overall, it was pretty close. Penalties, both 6 aside. Michigan did run the ball a little bit better. We thought that could be the difference maker between who won and who lost this game. Ended up being so that way. Nebraska did do a little bit better in terms of passing the football. Looking ahead to next week, the Michigan Wolverines now play Northwestern, coming into this game with a 2-3 record. They had a bye week this week. Should be a good chance for Michigan to improve to 7-0, but you never know with this team. And then in terms of Nebraska, they'll play Minnesota, going into that game with a 3-2 winning record, and Minnesota coming off a bye week as well, so potentially rested and going to be a pretty good matchup there. But anyways, guys, if you did make it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, comments, and predictions for next week down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again next time.